Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you an unboxing plus on-feet video of the brand new Puma King 2, also known as the Puma King 2014, in the Magolica blue, white, and lime punch colorway. Now inside the box, as you can see, all you get are the shoes themselves. They do not come with any extras. If you guys saw my video on the limited edition camo colorway of the King, you would have seen that those came with a string bag. The standard launch colors, which is what I have right here, do not come with that string bag, but of course they are significantly cheaper as well. Now the new King 2 has a retail price of $150 US, so it is cheaper than some of its competition, most notably the Nike Tiempo Legend 5, which has a $200 retail price. And this is basically the latest iteration of the very popular and very famous King line from Puma. The previous King model, which came out in 2012, was kind of the first shoe to take the Puma King in a very modern direction in terms of its styling and visual appearance. And a lot of people were disappointed with the final product, including myself. It wasn't a bad shoe, but I don't think it's what people were expecting from a Puma King. With this brand new 2014 model, also known as the King 2, we're getting a kind of modified version of what we got from 2012 with some really nice improvements that I'm actually quite optimistic of. I actually quite like this boot just based on first impressions. And in today's video, we're going to go over all the details such as the tech specs, of course, the visual appearance and colorway, as well as how these things fit and feel. So if you want more info on all of that, be sure to stay tuned. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. To start things off, let's talk about the colorway. Now, unlike the previous Puma King model, which launched in bright yellow, this time around we're getting a very interesting shade of blue and just an interesting combination of colors altogether. Now, the shade of blue that they're using is what they call Magolica blue, at least that's how I think you say it, and it's kind of like a lighter shade of navy blue. It's a darker color. It's not particularly vibrant, but because of it being such a unique shade of blue and in combination with lime green and white, which just looks really, really good in my opinion, it's going to stand out simply because it's unique as opposed to just being very, very bright or bright yellow like we saw last time around. So I think it's going to appeal to a pretty wide audience. I personally quite like how this shoe looks, especially in this colorway. Leave your opinions down below in the comment section just to give you guys an idea of what this blue looks like. Here's a pair of 11 Pros from Adidas and kind of a standard bright blue color. You can see these are significantly more low profile in terms of visuals. But overall, it's just an interesting shade of blue that I actually quite like the look of. As accent colors, like I mentioned, you're going to find white in the form of your Puma branding on both the lateral and medial side. A little bit of white at the tip of the tongue, the heel liner, the heel counter, the back of the Achilles area, and then the majority of the sole plate is also white in color. Obviously, you're going to find more of that navy blue on the sole plate. And then you have what they call lime punch, which is kind of like a lime green color. You have that accenting again on the Puma branding, the actual little diamond cutouts here, and your EverFit lacing system. You can see the little internal pieces are actually lime green as well, which I think look pretty cool. Little lime green parts here in the actual lacing system as well. Little accent right there. And then the stud tips are also lime green in color. So overall, I think it's a pretty cool looking Puma shoe, pretty cool looking colorway. I know not everybody's going to be a fan, but again, leave your opinions down below in the comment section. What do you think of the Puma King for 2014 in the launch colorway? If you are waiting for a black and white color, or some variation on that, I'm sure it is something that we will see very, very soon. Puma generally doesn't hesitate to give us a blackout or a whiteout, something along those lines when it comes to their more traditionally styled shoes. So I guess if you don't like this, but you still want a Puma King, just hang on for a month or two, and I'm sure we will get a black Puma King very, very shortly. In terms of performance and technical specifications, I think that Puma has done a good job with the King 2 in terms of balancing a good combination of modern and traditional elements on one single shoe. Now, as far as the upper is concerned, it combines both synthetic and leather. The only synthetic areas of the upper are going to be the tongue itself, which is a relatively thin synthetic, as you can see, something I am a little bit skeptical of at first, but we'll see until I actually get a chance to wear the shoes. And then the midfoot portion right here. So you can see this little strip with the diamond cutouts on both the lateral and medial side covering up the EverFit lacing system. These little pieces are also made from synthetic, whereas from there forward, so basically from this seam here to this seam here and forward, the shoe is made entirely of a calfskin premium leather. And then of course from this seam here and this seam here back, it is still made from leather as well, but that's not really as important since it's around your ankle and you're probably not going to be touching the ball with that area of your foot all that often. So the front portion is made from a premium calfskin leather. It isn't kangaroo leather like I'm sure a lot of people were hoping, but the quality of it definitely seems to be pretty nice. I have no major complaints. One of the problems that I did have with the previous Puma King model is not so much the leather not being kangaroo leather, but the very clumpy liner that they put on the inside of the shoe, and that seems to have been eliminated on this brand new Puma King model. So it's decently soft, it's got a good thickness to it, so it's going to have more of a padded feel overall. And it's got an interesting stitching pattern as well, which I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to impact how this shoe breaks in, how much it's able to stretch or how little it's going to stretch. Again, until you've actually worn them in, it's kind of difficult to judge a shoe like this. But overall, in terms of quality, while it isn't kangaroo leather, there's really not much here to complain about. Everything seems to be pretty decent. You are also going to find synthetic overlays in the form of the Puma branding on both the lateral and medial side, but the material, as you can see, is directly stitched to the upper, and it is actually quite thin, so I don't anticipate that having a major impact on the overall feel and performance that this shoe is going to provide. Now, central lacing system, as you can see, no major surprises there. It does not have a flap tongue like we've seen on previous Puma King models. And then probably the most interesting new element of this shoe is the EverFit lacing system, where you can see you have these little kind of lime green bands that come from the inside of the shoe. And essentially what that is if you're familiar with Nike's running or basketball models where they have their adaptive support system, where it's kind of like flywire but without actual flywire strings. You have basically a thick cable in this particular situation that runs from the base of the sole plate into the actual lacing system. So when you pull the laces tight, particularly on these two spots, there's actually two separate bands that are going to tighten and lock your midfoot in place. It definitely is very noticeable when you put the shoe on your foot. It makes for a nice stable sensation, and again, it's a nice modern touch to a classic shoe. So regardless of how much stretch you're going to get in the forefoot and toe box area, you're still going to have that nice secure lockdown feel in the midfoot, which is very important from a pair of soccer shoes, hopefully allowing the shoe to maintain a more responsive feel overall when both accelerating in a straight line as well as making hard lateral cuts. So a feature that I'm actually quite optimistic about. In terms of extra bulk, I guess that could potentially be a problem, but I don't really see it being too much of an issue. And again, I think it's a pretty good implementation of a simple technology that we've never really seen before on a pair of soccer cleats. So definitely good job by Puma in that regard of this particular shoe. Moving on to the rear portion, you can see that you do have a revamped external plastic heel counter where the sole plate has remained unchanged. We'll get onto that in just a second. The heel counter is a hard plastic. It's there. It's going to provide some good, decent protection as well as keep your heel kind of from sliding side to side when you are making those hard cuts and stuff like that. So definitely a positive aspect of this shoe and something I'd like to see on soccer shoes in general. External heel counters are something we just don't see very much anymore. The heel liner, as you guys can see, is a kind of a textured synthetic material with a decent amount of padding. Another problem that I really had with the previous Puma King model is that the heel portion was very, very wide. So unless you had very wide heels, which most people don't, the shoe kind of flared out. You tended to get heel slip and it just didn't fit the way it was supposed to. So again, that seems to have been improved on the new King model as well, although it might not be as apparent just from kind of showing you the shoes here, but you will see a difference when they are on feet. The insole is fully removable. It features a mesh liner on top, your King branding and graphics all over the place, as you guys can see, and it's made from a single layer of this black foam. It's got a really good thickness to it. It kind of starts off thin around the edges as a base, and then this extra raised part is a good extra bit of foam thickness. So again, in terms of step and comfort, this is going to be a very, very comfortable shoe even prior to break-in. Now moving on to the sole plate, you can see it is actually made from a P-Bax material, I believe, so it's very, very flexible, and it has a nice wide base to it. So if you do have wide feet, again, we'll talk about this more a little bit later in the video, this may be definitely something to consider, but like I said, the sole plate is thin, it's flexible, it's very, very comfortable because of that extra flexibility that you get. And then the stud pattern, again, kind of fitting with the theme of the shoe, a modern yet traditional style here. You get kind of a standard layout, but instead of all the studs being conical, you can see there are 3 of them right here in the forefoot. They're more of like a hybrid of bladed and conical studs. So you have curved edges as well as straight edges, and you're essentially getting the best of both worlds here. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys in saying that it does feel a little bit more traditional than it perhaps may look, so it does feel more or less like a standard conical stud pattern, but in terms of performance, again, it remains unchanged from the previous Puma King model, and I really don't have any issues with that. If you're looking for something that's going to feel traditional, this is definitely going to deliver that feel for you. So that's pretty much it as far as the tech specs and what you should know regarding the brand new Puma King 2, and move on next to a quick weigh-in so you can see how lightweight these guys are. In terms of weight, despite how this shoe may look and despite it being listed as a heritage boot, it actually is relatively light. So I'm going to weigh this pair for you today in real time. Keep in mind this is a brand new pair in a size 9 US. Going to throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.95 ounces, so pretty much right at that 9 ounce mark to keep everything nice and simple. In comparison to something like a Nike Tiempo Legend 5, which weighs in at 8.6 ounces, there's very little difference in weight between those two shoes. You're not going to notice much of anything as far as difference in feel when the shoes are on your feet. And for a shoe of this type that has a mostly leather upper, this is really all you can ask for. It's designed to be very, very comfortable. It's designed to have a nice solid feel, and it definitely delivers on both of those aspects. So again, to weigh 9 ounces, it's certainly not going to blow you away as far as feeling really light on your feet, but they certainly aren't going to weigh you down either. And again, I have no complaints regarding the weight range that the Puma King 2 falls under. Alright, here's a look at the Puma King 2s on feet, and in terms of how they feel from right out of the box, they definitely are comfortable, but you can also tell that these do require a decent amount of break-in time to allow the leather to soften up and stretch to the exact shape of your foot. From right out of the box, they fit nicely, but the leather definitely does have some stiffness to it. There's stiffness to the shoe in general, but I really like the feel that they have to offer. It does have a wider base overall, so it's one of those shoes that will be suitable for a pretty wide variety of foot types. The one thing to keep in mind though is that you're not going to get any stretch in the midfoot area of the shoe. So where you do have this EverFit lacing system, it hugs your foot very tightly. It has a nice kind of locked in feel when you pull the laces tight, but it isn't uncomfortable, which is kind of surprising. There's not a lot of extra pressure, but like I said, a noticeable amount of extra lockdown in the shoe. So again, as long as you don't have an excessively wide midfoot, these shoes should fit you quite comfortably after some break-in time. Again, keep in mind, they do need some time to stretch. They need some time to wear in before they start to feel the way they're supposed to feel. In terms of sizing, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. And unlike all of the other Puma models, these do not have that anatomic shaping to the toe. It's perfectly rounded off, so it's very traditional. It's pretty much like all the other brands. So if that is something that you were worried about, don't be, because it's not a thing on the Puma King 2. It really hasn't been a thing on the Puma Kings since, I believe, the King Exec. So again, this is it. This is the Puma King 2. They fit nice on feet. I really have no complaints. They run true to size and will be suitable for most foot types. So that's pretty much it as far as what these things look like on feet and of course how they fit. And move on next to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my unboxing of the brand new Puma King 2. I like the colorway, I like the overall styling of the shoe. Again, I think they did a good job of incorporating classic and modern elements on one single piece of footwear. And hopefully it's a nice improvement performance-wise over the previous King. Definitely feels better right off the bat, but again, until I get some decent wear time, it's kind of a difficult shoe to judge, just because it is a natural leather upper, and you need to break it in until it starts to feel the way it's supposed to. So of course I will be following up with more content on the Puma King 2, such as my full written review in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you want to check out the review page on my website, linked down below in the description of this video, you'll find the high quality images that I took myself that'll give you a better idea as to how these actually do look in person, as well as buy it now links with the best prices online, including exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you can pick these up below their $150 retail price, which makes this a pretty affordable shoe overall, especially considering the quality of it. So again, if you have any questions at all or any suggestions even, leave those down below in the comments section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.